For 10 years you've carried a folded note in your wallet, behind your driver's license, gone soft as cloth at the creases. On one side, in your daughter's handwriting, 2 words, I hate you. You keep it for the other side. To understand that, you have to go back 10 years, to a night the kitchen smelled like burnt garlic, and everything came apart. Maya was 15. There was a concert 2 cities away, and a boy named Devin who was 19 and had a car. She asked you in the doorway with her shoes already on, which meant she had decided long before she asked. You said no. Not a cruel no, a tired one. The no of a man who had read the news and done the math. She said you never let her do anything. You said that wasn't true, and the truth is you were both a little right. Her voice climbed the way it used to when she was small and overtired, except now it had edges on it. You said the boy was too old. She said you didn't trust her. You didn't, quite, and she heard it land. She yanked open the junk drawer for something to write with, a pen, and there was loose paper in there too. She grabbed the first sheet her hand touched, pressed it flat to the counter, and wrote without once looking at it. 2 words. She didn't dot anything or cross anything. She just pushed the pen until the paper tore a little at the corner. She slid it across the counter at you, fast, so it spun before it stopped. Then her bedroom door, and that final quiet click, not a slam, somehow, which was worse than a slam. You stood in the kitchen with the burnt pan still ticking on the stove and read it again. I hate you. You were going to throw it out. You actually carried it to the trash, lit up, hand open over the can. Some reflex made you flip it over first, maybe just so you wouldn't litter your own kitchen with her words. On the back was a drawing. 2 stick people holding hands, one tall and one small, under a yellow sun with too many rays. You knew that drawing. It had lived on your refrigerator for years, held up by a magnet shaped like a strawberry. She made it at 5, at this same counter, tongue between her teeth, and handed it up to you like it was money. You said it was the best one yet. You said that every single time. Every time, you meant it. The drawing had faded in the kitchen light, so a couple of years ago you'd moved it, gently, into the junk drawer. Which is how, at 15 and furious, she reached blind into that drawer and wrote hate on the back of her own love. She never saw it. She wrote on the white side facing her and stormed off, never knowing what she was holding. You stood there a long time, holding both of them, the 5-year-old and the 15-year-old, on one piece of paper. You didn't throw it away. You folded it, drawing side in, and slid it into your wallet that same night. You didn't show her. You thought, when she's calm, I'll turn it over, and we'll both laugh, and it'll be fixed. But the next morning she was polite, and politeness from your own kid is its own kind of cold. She passed the milk. She said thank you. She did not look at you, and you did not find the moment. The note stayed in your wallet. You told yourself you'd give it back when the time was right. The time was never right. That's the thing nobody warns you about, how the right time simply never comes. 16. She got tall and quiet and very good at leaving any room you happened to walk into. You went to her games and clapped too loud, and she pretended not to see you, and you let her. You'd touch your wallet sometimes in the stands, just to know it was still there. The corner had gone furry. 17. A college letter taped to a fridge. She'd earned a magnet of her own by then. You drove her to the dorm in August and carried boxes you weren't allowed to carry too far inside. At the curb, she gave you a one-armed hug, the kind that ends before it starts. You said drive safe. She wasn't driving. You drove the 2 hours home alone, and the empty seat beside you kept its mouth shut the whole way. The house got quiet in a way burnt garlic couldn't fill anymore, though, God knows, you still cooked. You called on Sundays. She answered most of them. The calls were weather and grades and are you eating. You never said the thing. You'd think it, turn the wallet over in your mind, and then say something about her tires. 20. A boyfriend you met for 90 minutes who shook your hand too hard to hide that he was scared of you. 21. She called you crying once, about a job, at midnight, and for 20 minutes you were her dad again. You stayed on the line until she yawned. You did not mention any note. You were afraid to spend the warmth. 23. She moved cities for the job, 2 hours away. Funny, the exact distance as that concert. You helped her move. You fixed a wobbling shelf she never asked you to fix, because it was something to do with your hands. Before you left, she said thanks, Dad, and meant it, and it almost undid you right there in her doorway. You drove home with the wallet in your pocket, and the note still folded the wrong way out. 24. She got engaged to a steady man who calls you sir and laughs at your worst jokes. You were glad. You were also doing the quiet math fathers do, counting the rooms she'd never sleep in again. The note had faded at the folds by then. The hate was wearing away one crease at a time. The drawing on the back had faded too. Even love goes pale if you fold it long enough. 25. She had a baby in the spring. A girl. They named her after your mother, and you had to leave the room. You held your granddaughter, and she gripped your finger the way Maya used to, and the years folded over on themselves. In the fall, you went to help. Colic, no sleep, the kind of week that strips the paint right off people. At 2 a.m, the baby would not stop, and Maya stood in the kitchen and cried like she was 15 again. She said, I don't know how you did this alone. I was awful to you. I don't know how you didn't just leave. You wanted to say it was nothing. It wasn't nothing. So you said, you were a kid. Kids get to be kids. And then, because it was 2 a.m. and the wall between you had finally gone soft, you reached for your wallet. You slid the note out from behind your license, furry-cornered, folded the wrong way for 10 whole years. She unfolded it and saw her own teenage handwriting, and her face just dropped. I hate you. She said, you kept this? Dad, throw this away. Why would you keep this? And she was crying all over again. You didn't take it back. You just said, turn it over. She turned it over. 2 stick people holding hands, one tall and one small, under a sun with too many rays. You watched her not understand, then remember the strawberry magnet all at once. She whispered, I drew this. She said, I wrote that on the back of this, and you nodded. She put her hand over her mouth, the same hand, 20 years older, that drew the sun and wrote the hate. She didn't say sorry again. The note had already said everything sorry could, in both directions. The baby slept through all of it on her shoulder, fist curled, not knowing she'd just watched the whole thing close. You stood in your daughter's kitchen at 2 a.m, 3 of you, one piece of paper, a great many years. She tried to give it back to you. You said no, it's yours now, it always was, both sides of it. She said she didn't deserve to keep it. You said that's not what keeping is for. You told her the truth you'd folded up for 10 years. You never needed her to never say it. You needed to know the other side was real too, that the sun came first and would outlast the hate. The hate had faded at the folds. The drawing had faded too, but you could still see which one was underneath. She put it in the drawer by her own refrigerator that night, the junk drawer where the spare batteries live. You noticed she didn't fold it back the wrong way. She left the drawing facing up. By morning, the baby had a drawing of her own taped to the fridge, a scribble, technically, but you knew a sun when you saw one. There was no magnet for it yet. There would be. You'd buy one. You knew exactly the kind. You drove the 2 hours home that afternoon, and the empty passenger seat didn't feel like a shut mouth anymore. Nothing was fixed exactly. 10 years don't unfold like a note. The cold spots are still cold. You still don't have all the Sundays back. You won't. Some doors close with a quiet click and stay closed. But you don't carry the note in your wallet anymore. You don't need the proof. She has it now. Behind your license, there's a new photo now. A baby's fist wrapped around an old man's finger. Sometimes you take out your wallet just to feel the place the note used to be, soft from 10 years of holding. If you could go back to that kitchen, the burnt garlic, the spinning paper, you wouldn't change the no. You'd just walk to the trash a little faster, turn it over a little sooner, and say, look, you drew me a son. You'd tell her both sides are allowed, that you can mean those 2 words with your whole chest, and still be the kid who drew the sun. That's the thing you know now that you didn't know then. People are double-sided, and you keep them anyway. Your daughter slammed a door once and handed you the worst 2 words she had. You kept it 10 years, not for the hate, never for the hate, for the sun on the other side. And somewhere 2 hours away, in a junk drawer beneath a strawberry magnet, that paper is still keeping the both of you.